morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Wow, we've got a lively crowd today. Pardon me? Let them enjoy it. I'm Dave Crouch, and this is Policy Talks, brought to you each month by Williamson, Inc., our Chamber of Commerce here in Williamson County. We have got a really lively crowd, unusually lively crowd at Columbia State this morning. The campus is beautiful, got a little breeze going outside, and the campus is really showing off the spring colors right now, and we just appreciate the opportunity to come here and use this facility to conduct this show. We've got a very good crew that puts us on TV. Creed Henderson and his crew at WCTV have our TV audience tuning in. And Tom Lawrence over at WAKM also simultaneously broadcast this show. So we appreciate their help. We've got a particularly important duo up here on the stage this morning that are very, very important to the business community in Williamson County, and that's the schools. And these are the bosses at the schools. To my left, Dr. David Snowden, the superintendent at Franklin Special School District. And next to him, Jason Golden. I keep wanting to call you Dr. Golden. You need to go back and get your doctor. But oh, really? Well, so I can call you Dr. Golden. Great, perfect. I know you've got a law degree too, right? So I could call you the Honorable Mr. Golden too. But anyway.
We've been called worse.
That's great. Now, Dr. Snowden, how long have you been superintendent at Franklin?
A minute.
I was trying to remember. I can't remember.
This just finishing 24 years.
Wow.
Can I make a comment related to that?
Absolutely.
Dr. Snowden is the dean of superintendents in the state, and not just in time, but in quality and mentorship for so many superintendents. So he is the longest serving superintendent in the state.
Wow. Congratulations.
I'll pay Jason later. Thank you, Jason.
Well, Jason, you've got a record going at the Williamson County seat, because it was a revolving door there for a while before you took the seat. How long have you been superintendent?
I finished my 6th year as superintendent, and I was the deputy superintendent for a number of years before that. I will say, just to reemphasize Dr. Snowden's longevity, we have regions. The state breaks us up into 8 regions statewide. At the end of this month, I will be the second longest serving superintendent in our region.
Hey.
And Dr. Snowden has been here 24 years, and so it is a volatile job. It's a very public job, and so again, it just emphasizes the power of continuity of leadership. Success, and those of you in business know this. Success is often tied to continuity of leadership.
But y'all just got the school boards where they'll just rubber stamp whatever you tell them, right?
No, not quite.
Oh boy. Franklin is K through 8. You've got the lower grades, and I know there's been discussions in years past of adding a high school grade to Franklin. I know Jason doesn't want to talk about that, but any changes on the horizon there? Is just, or do y'all plan to stay exactly as you are now?
Not been any discussion related to adding a high school in several years now, so I don't anticipate that.
Williamson, of course, goes K through 12. Just see, you just graduated over 3,000 seniors. That's a lot of kids.
That's right, about 3,500 seniors. And for those of you who attended graduations, I see some of your faces. A couple of you have been on the stage with us at those graduation ceremonies. It reminds you of why you do it, the success of our students. And so you sometimes get caught up in the day-to-day, but when you attend a graduation ceremony, it's just a reminder.
So what's the total population of the schools now, student-wise?
We have just under 42,000 students, and Dr. Snowden, I'm going to guess you're about 2,800, something like that? 33. They've grown, actually, yeah, 3,300. Related to that, we have actually stabilized in our numbers. We actually project a 0.44% decrease from this year to next. Most every grade level is growing, but we have more seniors graduating than kindergartners coming in. And our middle schools are growing, but our elementary schools in the aggregate countywide are shrinking. I think the most likely reason for that is cost of housing. We have folks moving in with their children just a tiny bit older right now.
Changes at Franklin Special, Dr. Snowden? Or the population stable or growing?
It's really stable. It's not growing. We lost quite a few students during COVID for one reason or other, but we're seeing the same thing that Jason just mentioned. The cost of housing, especially in our district, is significant. I know it's significant in the county as well, but people with small children struggle to purchase homes. And then apartment, if you've looked at renting an apartment in this area, it's expensive as well. So it's difficult for families, young families, without some significant dollars put away to really live here and to move here. And that's a challenge for several families.
So the county had a pretty aggressive building program going up until, the last couple of years. And is that on hold now, or what are the plans?
Our plans are not on hold, but we've stretched the length of time for some of those projects. We have a 5-year capital plan, so it's interesting. I was speaking in the aggregate, but there are some parts of the county that are growing, and other parts that, at least for school purposes, are shrinking. Some areas where folks aren't selling. So, for example, the Grassland community, the west side of Franklin, but Arrington Elementary opened 2 years ago, and it's almost full. So we're seeing some regional growth and some regional stability.
So any new high schools planned?
We do not have any new high schools planned. About 10 years ago, right about the time we were finishing up plans for Nolensville High School, we started a project to expand capacity at our high schools. It's substantially cheaper. County commissioners here, I know Commissioner Bethard is here. I don't know if there are any others in the audience. They recognize it's a lot less expensive to add a wing on to a school. So when we had the capacity, library, cafeteria, common spaces could handle it, we've expanded our capacity. So we don't have any new high schools projected in the next 5 years.
The 3,300 students, Dr. Snowden, how many teachers does it take to teach 3,300 kids?
Exactly, about 350, maybe 375. But we have a lot of support personnel as well.
So something like that. What in the county is that?
I don't know why I have this in my head, but our pupil-teacher ratio is 17-1, and Dr. Snowden's at Franklin Special is 13-1, according to the state. Hey, and I tell you, it is. The support they give and prepare our students is really impressive. Metro Nashville's happens to be 17-1 as well, same ratio as us. And
we have a little better results.
Well, thank you for that. We all have our challenges in our baseline where we start. I tell you, in Middle Tennessee, what I've seen is every school system is excellent. I mentioned that region. We have regular conversations, monthly in-depth conversations with our peers in the Middle Tennessee region. We actually call it, I forgot the name of the group, Mid-Cumberland is what the state designates us as. We have excellent school systems in all of Middle Tennessee, and we all have our challenges. And Dr. Snowden, I know, can speak to that. We've got an excellent relationship. The students who matriculate up from Franklin Special to to Centennial and Franklin high schools largely are well prepared. And we may speak to that and just a little bit about some innovation work we're going through. I do want to also mention that Tanya Hidma, one of our school board members, is here. So thank you for being here as well. We've got a great leadership.
We have
Special
three
school board members here.
Mr. Blair, our chair, Ms. Bell, our vice chair, Mr. Townsend, secretary. Now, Mr. Blair calls him his secretary, but he's not Mr. Blair's personal secretary. He is the board secretary, right, Mr. Townsend?
Good.
Who also has a doctorate in jurisprudence, if I'm not mistaken.
Very good. We just trying to hit the thinking back over the year about some of the news in the press, and Franklin Special moved into a very nice new building over on Eddie Lane not too long ago. Tell us about that and the rationale there and how it's working out, David.
Thank you. Yes, we moved into the new facility, well, the new central office part, and on January the 6th. The Facilities and Transportation Center behind that facility opened before that last summer, pretty much. But the rationale is obviously students and teachers of buildings come first, and our board has done a great job in keeping up with facilities, building new facilities that are needed for our schools. But one of the things that's been missing is an opportunity to have most support people, or practically all support people, under one roof instead of scattered into 5 or 6 different buildings across the district. And so we embarked on this program to provide that facility, and it is extremely nice. It's about 38,000 square feet. Every support person is located there. It makes it much more efficient and effective. I'll give you an example I used in the Frank Talks the other day, and it does make a difference. When our technology department was located at Freedom Middle School, and I wish I was more technical. I wish I could, when I'm working with technology, that I could fix my own technology, but sometimes I need some help. So I would call our technology supervisor located at Freedom Middle, and it might be 15, 20, 30 minutes before he could get there. About 3 weeks ago, or 4 weeks ago now, I had an issue with technology. I called Drew Bingham, our technology supervisor, and I said, hey, I got a problem. 30 seconds later, I look up and he's standing in my office. So the efficiency and effectiveness of having everybody in one location has been tremendous already just within the 5 months, close to 6 months that we've been in the building.
County mayor's here, Jason. The pressure's on, I guess, for y'all to build a new central office. Mr. Mayor, do you want to make any announcements today?
I'll speak for you on this one, Mayor. It's not on our capital plan. I will tell you, we're in the old hospital along with the mayor's office, and we very much appreciate the conservative thinking and the conservative plan they have for us, in part because they do fund our schools. And so, yeah, we're in the old building, and that's okay. I will tell you, when I would visit Dr. Snowden, I had to duck to go in his old office. So I think there's value in what they did for sure. But we just like Franklin Special, we pour ourselves into our students, and we pour ourselves into our schools. And so we have been conservative in those extras because that's not the core of what we do.
Any other new buildings in the works?
We do have a new building in the works. It's actually funded by the state. We are working on what we're calling an innovation hub. We are creating some new college and career technical education programs through our innovation hub. Dr. Snowden, I think, I'm trying to remember, maybe 2.5 years ago or so in the state budget, they initiated what they called an innovation program for schools. And they designated a grant of $1 million per school per high school and $500,000 per middle school. And we had actually submitted a plan to the state for what we intended to do with that. Had to get approval for it. And the idea was to innovate in college and career technical education. I see Senator Hensley is here, and you were involved in that. And actually, Sam, Sam Whitson. Oh, there you are. Sam Whitson was in the legislature at the time too when that was passed. Our innovation hub will include a number of new innovative programs that were driven by the demands of our community. So, for example, we're aviation, heavy machinery, hospitality, fire prevention, and power generation are some of those programs that we're initiating in our Innovation Hub. That's scheduled to open not this coming fall, but next fall in fall of '26.
So go down the list of those programs that are being offered there again, and let's talk about them a little bit more.
Aviation number one, and I'm going to ask Dr. Snowden to speak to this as well, because just as we got a grant and we got approval to create a hub that will be a target for all our schools and all our students to come to, Dr. Snowden worked on that in conjunction with us as well. So I'm going to start with aviation because I want to turn this over to you in just a second. There's a demand for flight support, whether it's from pilots to mechanics to administration. We had lots of conversations with BNA, the local Nashville airport, about that need, and we've actually gotten some support from them, people support, for us to plan that. MTSU has an aviation program. We've talked to them about this, and the idea is that we're going to create some verticality for students who want to get into that industry, because the demand, especially in Nashville, that's a hub in many ways, is there. So I'll turn that over to Dr. Snowden.
Yes, this year we introduced or started an introduction to aerospace class in our two middle schools for 8th graders. We had 2 sections in Freedom Middle School, 1 section in Poplar Grove. It's a great opportunity for our students as they prepare and then take the next pathway into aviation once they get to Williamson County High School. So we had 57 students that finished the course this year. It was really, like I said, a great opportunity. We have 6 Redbird Velocity simulators, 3 in each classroom, 3 at Poplar Grove, 3 at Freedom Middle, where students can actually learn how to fly a plane. Now, they learn other things as well, but obviously that would be something that's very popular. And
I go back to school and learn to fly.
well, I just told someone outside I've been trying to re-enroll, and they said I've exceeded the age limit for middle school.
Darn.
Your eligibility is passed,
Yeah.
and you don't get a 6th year.
Dang.
So, and we knew Williamson County was building this new center, innovation center. But we wanted to go ahead and get our program started. We had the funds. We had done. Dr. Mary Decker had done a great job in researching and having this program move forward. So the challenge came during the year. We thought, okay, that center is not going to be available for our 8th graders to transition or take the next pathway for their 9th grade year. So in consultation with Williamson County, I think Dr. Webb was leading this conversation. I'm sure Dr. Golden was involved in it. But so next year, our 8th graders that finish the course, Introduction to Aerospace, they're going to be able to take the 2nd course at Freedom Middle School in the fall. They'll take it first thing in the morning, and then they'll be bused to either Franklin High School or Centennial High School. So they don't miss a beat. We didn't want them to have to wait a year to take the 2nd course if that's what they chose to do. And Williamson County, we have a great partnership, as Jason mentioned earlier. So next year, we have, at this point in time, we have 27 students that completed the 8th grade course that will be taking the next course in 9th grade at Freedom Middle and then moving on to the high school. So thanks to Jason for allowing that to take place. And I know our families of those students are excited.
Sounds like a great program. I know with Southwest expanding their hub here, I mean, I don't know how many pilots they are going to have based here, but it's a lot, I remember.
Yeah, I don't know the numbers either, but it is a lot, and we expect it to expand over time. Hawkins Flight Academy out of Shelbyville is committed to working with us on that one. Also, you asked about other programs. Hospitality, Columbia State's actually committed to providing us a teacher for that hospitality program. Those of you who live in this community know that there's a demand for that as well. It's not just tourism, it's also just work that's going on here for folks who live here. Heavy machine tech and electrical power generation. Cat Diesel has committed to supporting that program for us as well. Culinary, that's kind of hand in hand with the hospitality, and cybersecurity. We have a cybersecurity program we're working on. And the fire program, we've actually had conversations with the city of Franklin. City of Franklin's going to support some of the work in that and in trying to generate firefighters. And I will tell you, a shout out to Williamson Inc., the chamber. We actually visited Scottsdale, Arizona. What was it, 2 years ago, maybe? Right in that range. And we visited the structure that they have in Arizona for college and career technical education programs in Metro Phoenix is actually a separate school system that does nothing but college and career technical education. And one of their programs was fire prevention, and they talked about the demands. They actually send their students up to Utah to fight forest fires. But it triggered that thought into our minds. Got to tell one silly story about that trip. We were presenting and listening to that team there at that school district that just serves high school students in career technical programs. And I spoke briefly on a panel with their superintendent, and the superintendent pulled me over after we stepped off the stage, and we went back to his office and got into such a great discussion that I missed the bus. And the chamber group, Williamson Inc.'s group, 60 or so business leaders went on to the 90 business leaders in 2 buses went on to the next venue in Metro Phoenix. If you've ever been to Metro Phoenix, I wasn't going to make it. And actually, that superintendent drove me 45 minutes to the next location. So I love that guy.
So now, President Trump is talking about taking money away from Harvard for trade schools. Do y'all anticipate getting some of that money to enhance these programs?
You may speak to what you've heard. Short answer, I know it's a tongue-in-cheek question, but I do want to answer it with a little bit of substance. What we have heard from the U.S. Department of Education is they don't plan to change their funding. What they've mentioned to us is at this stage, it's largely an internal issue. But I will tell you, for us, our funding from the federal government is pretty minimal anyway. It's about maybe 2% of our total budget on average per year. Largely what they are doing at the federal level is supplementing our services to our students with disabilities. And it's not anywhere near our total expenditure for students with disabilities. I will tell you, the best thing we get from the U.S. Department of Education is those Blue Ribbon School Awards. And that started with the Reagan administration back in 1982, if I'm not mistaken. And we have had a Blue Ribbon School every single year I've been superintendent. And I'm super proud of that, super proud of our schools for that. So we don't know what the future holds for that.
Tell them about your Blue Ribbon School that you went to.
So I tell too many stories. I grew up in Metro Atlanta. My senior year, my school was a National Blue Ribbon School. And I tell that story to tell you that this next piece, I drove by my old high school a couple of years ago, and they still had that out on the exterior of their building. It's something that lasts forever. It's the highest award a school can receive. Most recently, Jordan Elementary School received that National Blue Ribbon status, and it requires a nomination by the state. You can't do it on your own. And then our teams have to submit detailed information related to that. They basically have 2 categories, growth and academic achievement. And so they make sure that they honor those 2 key components that we focus on, growing students and achievement.
Now, the Franklin Special has just had a very prestigious award, I think, given to them by TVA. David, STEM award, and that went to Poplar Grove and Johnson Elementary, I think.
Just Johnson Elementary, and Liberty Elementary a few years ago did receive a national blue ribbon status as well, and that is quite an honor. But Johnson Elementary just recently received the STEM designation by the Tennessee Department of Education, which is really prestigious. I think it's the only elementary school within the Williamson County area that has achieved this designation. And it was a 2-year application process, and teachers worked really hard. Dia Peach led the effort, but it's to focus on obviously science, technology, math, arts, and mathematics. I probably left something out there. Engineering, the E. But it's a focus on making sure that students can be successful, have a successful career as they move forward into high school and then into college in any of those areas related in the STEM. And so we're very proud of that effort and very proud of that designation for Johnson Elementary.
Back in January, the only thing anyone was talking about was vouchers. Education freedom scholarships is what the legislature would prefer to call them. But, and the state passed a program to, I think, provide 20,000 vouchers across the state for students to choose where they want to go to school. And I think recently, it may not be so recently, but the schools in each county had to sign up to participate in that program. Did I have that right?
I haven't studied that detail of it, but that's my understanding.
We know if any schools in Williamson County signed up for it?
I don't know the answer to that myself.
I don't know that either.
Just curious. You said Jason and I talked a little bit yesterday just to kind of get warmed up, but you said that y'all have not seen any impact so far from vouchers. Of course, they just took applications, I think, May 15th. So
that's right. We've seen some press releases from the Tennessee Department of Education related to numbers, but we have not seen any impact ourselves. There's been a lot of speculation. Will it be largely students already enrolled in private schools versus not? We just don't know the answer to those questions right now.
Tell and to know if we've had any of our families to apply and whether or not they've been accepted. We're optimistic that it won't significantly impact us for students, but
right. We don't have. I'm confused on one thing, and that's easy to do with me. But charter schools are private schools, but they're publicly funded. Is that?
Not technically speaking. Charter schools.
Explain that to me.
Charter schools are technically public schools. They're funded under. They're created under a corporate charter, with whatever rules they set up for themselves with their own. I call it private board, but the state of Tennessee considers them to be public schools. So the funding structure is a little bit different. They might not be subject to all the regulations and rules that public schools are under, but they are technically public and funded that way.
So why would every private school not try to be a charter school?
Well, for funding purposes, and here's why. And I'm going to speak to Williamson County. We did the math on this year's funding from the state on our per pupil, and given everything we've gotten from the state, we received about $4,400 per student. And I'm talking about state funding for students with disabilities. They also give us some funding for outcomes. In addition to the base amount. Total, everything we get about $4,400. The plan for the ESAs or vouchers is a little over $7,200 this year. So a private school could get $7,200 per student from the state for the ESA, plus they could charge a tuition. The charter schools are subject to the state funding structure for public schools. And so from a numbers perspective, I'm not sure it makes sense for them.
I puzzled over that a little bit, even asked ChatGPT about it last night. But speaking of ChatGPT, AI in schools, that's been in the news some over the past few months. What are y'all seeing in the public schools? Is it helpful, or is it harmful, or where's it going?
Oh, okay. We're handing it off to each other. I will say that AI is a tool, and it has the potential to be a valuable tool. But it's a tool, and you know that old proverb of you don't hammer a nail in with a screwdriver or whatever. Some variety of that applies. So we do have a policy in place, and our teachers do have conversations, especially at the high school level, with our students about the appropriate use of artificial intelligence. And so to me, you have to recognize that it is a tool that's going to be out there, and you have to use it wisely and help students to prepare for it. And I think that's the intent of at the state level too. The legislature is trying to create a standard focus in that way, not to use it for its own sake, but to use it as a tool. I've experimented with it. Typed in some facts just to see what comes out. And I will say what I've seen is it requires follow-up. You get some information from one of those services, and it might give you a place to start to double check on facts. So I anticipate it's going to be a tool. Businesses use it regularly. But I know they've experienced those same things we have. I will say there's some educational institutions that we respond to that are still going through their decision-making processes. For example, AP, Advanced Placement Classes, International Baccalaureate, some of those programs that we have an obligation to follow their standards and their rules are still working through that. And so I have seen some differences in some of those organizations and how they're approaching it. So in those examples, we have to honor those structures. International Baccalaureate, I'm speaking a little bit for them, but as I read their information, they've embraced it, but again, they're treating it as a tool. The AP structure, as I've seen it, and again, I'm speaking for them a little bit, and that may not be appropriate, they are driven by making sure that the students identify that they have grasped the material and they have mastered the material rather than using something artificial.
Just due to the age of our students, I was through 8th grade, we're not using it a lot. Our teachers are dabbling with it or experimenting with it, more so than the students, but they're trying to be progressive in teaching students how to effectively use it and the benefits, but also the downsides of AI.
It's definitely an interesting tool, and I use it all the time. So just
if I may, can I you've just prompted this in my head. Our school board and our school administration, we've created a committee that's evaluating our students' use of technology, and really we've hit 4 components, but a couple of those components are use in the classroom, use of technology outside the classroom. Another element is evaluating the students' use outside of school. The state shared some information with us that students arrive as kindergartners with us, spending close to 2 hours a day, even before they get to us, on devices. And that actually that description is in the intro of our computer science standards, the state computer science standards, with that blurb from research. Tanya Hibma is actually on the committee that's evaluating that. And one of the things I mentioned in that committee that really started their work just last month is we know, and it includes parents, it includes teachers, administrators. We tried to get our stakeholders involved in that group. A couple of board members are on that committee. And I think I said something to this effect when I introed it. You all probably already have some predispositions and some ideas about what ought to happen with student devices. And we expect that. If you don't have some predispositions, you're not paying attention. But we want to spend some time speaking in detail about that. So there is a trend nationally to be more thoughtful and more careful about use of technology. And so we are going through that process. There's some push, let's move quicker, because people have already decided, I know what I want in schools, but we want to be thoughtful and get our parents involved. And just anecdotally speaking, we have 42,000 students. The vast majority of them carry devices with them to school. The legislature passed a law, and I had this conversation with Senator Hensley last year. The legislature passed a law that said students cannot use devices in class without direction from teachers. And so then the question is, do we go further than that? We know that parents want to track where their children are. And we know many parents have conversations by text with their children during the school day. And so we want to make sure that we're thoughtful about our approach to honor that safety need for parents in this modern environment with the need to have students using the devices appropriately.
Yeah, we face the same thing, and our students cannot use them during instructional time, but they can have those devices available to them during lunch or for and after school. But because a lot of them have them, even in elementary.
Jason mentioned the increasing problems with cell phones at school in our conversation yesterday, and I made the mistake of mentioning that to my assistant, who is a former high school teacher. And about 30 minutes later, she came up for air because she has really struggled with that issue with kids. Told a funny story, but she thought she heard a little noise, and she kind of wandered back through her classroom and decided it was probably this one young lady. And she took her hand, pulled her hair back. She had an AirPod in there listening to music. And so anyway, she took the AirPod and said, I'm gonna keep that this weekend. And the mother just about had a fit. But anyway.
There you go. Right. That's part of what we're talking about. I will tell you, there are some myths out there about how much time students are spending on our devices during school. We did some research, and we did some snapshots of a couple of weeks in school, and our elementary school students were spending 30 to 35 minutes a week. I'm sorry, a day on their devices, and largely it was some follow-up, spiraling back on some standards. So we actually established this coming year, none of our elementary school students will be required to take their devices home with them every day. So for those of you who have young children, you'll see that substantial change. Also, we're saving some money. Mayor Anderson and I had this conversation. We are not buying replacement devices for K1 and 2. And so we're actually using some old devices because we recognize not everybody needs one assigned to them. But there are state computer standards that we must have. And our students at the older grades take TCAP, our state standardized test, online. And so we're trying to work on that balance of appropriate use in schools. But the reality is, from a time perspective, and Dr. Snowden, you know this, it's largely those personal devices, not the in-school devices that are really the time driver.
I suspect we have some questions that the audience would like to answer or to ask. And we got a special announcement coming up in a couple of minutes, so I'm going to break for questions here right now. Mindy's always the first hand up, so. Mindy Tate.
So y'all been in this a long time, and it may have changed, or I wonder, what is your greatest concern for your staff and your students as you look ahead and plan? What keeps you up a little bit at night, or what are your greatest concerns?
Don't mind, I'll go first, and I'm sure, and we talk about this at our superintendent meetings, whether it's regional or across the state. We're seeing more and more students that come to school with significant behavior issues, or I should say misbehavior issues, or they struggle with being able to conduct themselves appropriately, some because of a disability, some for other reasons. We have a lot of students, and it doesn't matter about income, that come to us with ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and those adverse childhood experiences impact the school day, impact the student, the teaching and learning process. So we are continuing to try to be creative in how we handle discipline, because you don't want that particular child with that behavior issue, you don't want that child to miss out on instruction. However, you've got to be cognizant of how that impacts the other students in the classroom. So it's a really delicate balancing act on how we handle those, whether it's through whatever means, strategies that we have. But I still see that as a significant issue going forward. And we've even had this year, and again, we just go through 8th grade, some real threats to teachers and some harmful things that in some cases it was meant to harm a teacher. In many cases, it was just because the behavior was so out of control that it impacted a teacher or an assistant and injured them. So those are things that we continue to see, and I'm sure that's no exception in Williamson County.
Well, it's interesting, Mindy, when you asked the question, I immediately thought of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that those of you who took psychology classes 20, 30 years ago in college, and that baseline is those basic life needs, safety. And that's what we lose sleep over. It's that baseline safety issue. Dr. Snowden talked about threats. We experienced that too. Ms. Hibma and I have had discussions about students with disabilities, and it is a balance. We have a no matter how much that we work on safety, it will never be enough. And that's our worry. And we got to be careful not to brag about our safety procedures, because inevitably somebody's going to find some way if they're determined enough. And so that's a worry. So the way we address it is we don't work alone. And that's constantly what we tell our teachers in the context of instruction. Don't go it alone. So law enforcement, the sheriff's office, the state has given us some assets to work on that. When there's a threat, and there are a lot of them, we don't just deal with it ourselves. Sometimes there's a knock at somebody's door in the middle of the night from law enforcement to determine, does the student have the capacity to do what they just threatened to do? And a house sometimes gets searched. So it's that constant worry. Now, to move up from Maslow's hierarchy of needs, what we're constantly working on is all of that. And I don't think we mentioned yet, we're among the highest performing school districts in the state. So we have all kinds of stats about those successes. So we can't get so focused on one thing that we forget our mission. And our mission is to provide that supportive environment where students are challenged to excel in academics, athletics, and the arts. And so that worry is that supportive part.
Stand up and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Jenny Halterman. I work with Better Options Tennessee. But with regard to schools, I want to say I have 4 graduates from Independence High School, Indy Nation. And we're stirring up trouble here.
Daniel Dad.
And my son graduated with this young man here who is now a college grad working here. And so I already told Mr. Golden that my daughter, who's a junior in college, said that her teachers from Independence, most of them were better than some of her professors in college. And I will say that they really had excellent teachers who I just really can't say enough. So one thing I want to mention is that our governor just signed a new law saying that we need to give students more recess time. And I'm a former teacher. I taught my first years in Detroit Public Schools, and our playground was not accessible because I could go on and on. There was no grass. Anyway, they never went outside. So I took my students out and we went for a walk around the block. And, there's data from way back then saying, a few years ago when I first started teaching, that students learn best after activity, after exercise. So this new bill from the governor is fantastic. But what I want to pose to the two of you is that bill only is requiring more recess time for elementary. And my friends whose kids are in middle and high school, they're just bummed that it didn't go higher. We all need to see the light of day. We all need exercise. We all need unregulated, pressured time. So I want to ask the two of you if you could make a way, because we see specific data points saying that impacts their emotional well-being and their education, right? Which is what we're doing. So I wonder if you might be able to put some staff money and planning into middle and high school, which I know is beyond the new law.
I can speak to that a little bit. I'll let you speak to that as well. So at the elementary level, we've always had a little bit more than the state requirements for recess, unstructured time. And so when that bill started through the legislative process, I know Ms. Hibma again was involved in this discussion. I might not have mentioned you if you weren't here, but the reality is we've had all these discussions. We actually are incorporating 45 minutes at the elementary level, which is 5 minutes more than the state minimum. There's also some transition times that are from moving from one content area to the next in those youngest grades that might not be quantifiable because the students are they're transitioning from ELA to something else, moving through the school buildings. But this is unstructured time at 45 minutes. At the middle and high school grades, you're balancing those state requirements for class time with transition time. That's a part of it. Some of it's enough time in the day. How many minutes in a school day that's already smaller than we would like do you take out for instruction? So you've got that balance to deal with. Another issue is, and those of you who are parents know this, there's a difference between what a teenager's going to do with free time and what an elementary school student is going to do with free time. So having totally unstructured time for high school students, when you've got 2,000 students, you're going to have some percentage who don't do what the purpose of recess would be for, which would be to get out and move around. Some of them might just decide to sit. And so what we have found largely at those older grades is some structured time where you're assigning, walk around the track if it's sunny or whatever. We have found that those processes have been more successful than just say, hey, you're on your own for 45 minutes, right? So there's a balance there, and we don't know where that is right now, and I know the legislature, if they take it up the next year, they'll be having that discussion. I do know that the law as written is slightly different from the legislation in the context of those older grades, and I suspect it's because of some of those issues that I mentioned.
We can continue these discussions after our announcement that's coming up here, if we have time, and if not, we can stay here as long as you want to and have questions with the superintendents. But I promised Dr. Janet Smith that I would break here and ask her to come up here and make a very special announcement that is exciting for Columbia State. Dr. Smith, come on up and take over.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First off, I would like to say, this has been a very special morning, I think. And we all know what the quality and the value of the Williamson schools are. But sitting as an educator this morning, listening to these two gentlemen speak about what they do and the care that they have for their students and their students' success, and that care of looking to the future, not just of today, in building schools that continue to lead this community forward. I think everyone in here, if you're not as proud, I'm extremely proud and honored that we have this type of great leadership of our schools, and I thank you for what you do every day. Now for Columbia State, as many of you know or may know that Dr. Darrell Lampley, who was the vice president for this campus, decided to retire. Like a lot of folks, reached that point where he said, you know, it's time to go home. I've been at the college for a number of years and transition into another part of life. And so as one retires, then you begin to search for someone that can come in and not do what the individual did that's moving out, but will take the college to the next level. And so today, it's my pleasure to announce that individual who will be taking over as Vice President of the Williamson Campus and External Services. So that individual is Dr. Shane Hall, and Dr. Hall is here with me. I'll tell you a little bit about him, then I'll ask him to say a few words. But we appreciate this opportunity to make this announcement. He begins on June 1st, so not long, and he starts the new job here. But he's not new to Columbia State, and that's one question folks ask, has he been associated with the college? Actually, Shane he graduated from Columbia State, and he was in his sophomore year to graduate in 2008 when I joined the college. So we have been together for quite some time in terms of knowing and working with each other. He left Columbia State after he graduated and went to Vanderbilt and picked up a Bachelor of Arts degree there in the English and Humanities area. Then after that, he went out into the world of work and worked in the healthcare industry, several different places for several years, and decided that that was not where his calling was. And he ended up doing some adjunct teaching and then made his way back to Columbia State to be a professor in our English and Humanities department, which he taught for several years. And then later, as the campus developed here, we needed coordinated leadership in our humanities and sciences area back to the Columbia campus. So he was appointed then to be coordinator of that area, served there for several years, and then through a reorganization at the college, we moved our academic area from 3 deans to 4 deans, or 5 deans, I think it was. And so he applied for that and became dean of the, that's a long name for that different division, but it was again humanities and arts in there, and served all of that very well. And so as this position came open, he made application, went through the process with, I guess we had about 50 different candidates that were from all over, and he came out on top, as one would anticipate that he would, because of his time and his commitment to this college. But it's not just time and commitment, it's what he cares about our students. He's always been extremely engaged with the students in terms of developing clubs and organizations to help them be engaged in extracurricular activities as well as curricular activities. So it's my pleasure to have Shane as not my pleasure, it's not a pleasure, it's just a great thing that he's going to be the vice president here, be working alongside the rest of the cabinet as we move the college forward to the future. So a lot of good things to look forward to and how we continue to grow. I would encourage you, if there are opportunities that you have in the community of organizations or businesses that you might be associated with, to invite him in, to introduce him more to the community. That would be a way to help him begin to even more so be in the community and learn the community. But he's lived in Williamson County for quite some time, so he knows a lot already. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you the new Vice President for the Williamson Campus and External Services, Dr. Shane Hall. Shane?
So first off, I really want to say that I appreciate President Smith's faith in me. There was very stiff competition for this job, and I was uniquely qualified for it. Not only, so I have a technical career background originally, and when I came back to college, I learned really quickly that I loved working with students, and I was encouraged by some of my professors that if I had a passion for that, I might consider it a calling. So I was an English professor for about 15 years, and I've worked with your children to see them grow up and be out in the community and be successful. And I think that's the greatest thing about being involved in a community college. I can't think of anything I would rather dedicate my entire life to. We talk about Columbia State's strategic plan. We talk about it being one college, student ready and community ready. And the reality is that we are right at your back door and we're always available. And when your students that are young people or your adults that are looking to re-envision their lives, we are there for them to seek the opportunities that they can grasp. They have to choose the opportunities that are best for them, and we're absolutely thrilled to death to be a part of that. I was going to promise to be brief, but that would have confused people that have ever spoken to me because I'm never at a loss for words. I always finish what I commit to, but I didn't want to be confusing. But I will try to be a little brief, and I'll say this. I'm looking for partnerships that benefit the community. That is our goal at Columbia State. We have a great relationship with both Williamson County schools here in the Williamson County area and Franklin Special District. I've been very privileged to be able to work with our students. I worked in dual enrollment as well. Guys, I really am strangely qualified for this job. And so when it became available, I have loved every job that I've had at Columbia State. When I became a professor, when I was working part-time, and when I became full-time, I thought these are the best jobs I could possibly have ever had. And then when I became a coordinator for the Humanities and Social Science Division, I was like, gosh, I get to learn more. And when I became a dean, I was able to learn more. And I'm thrilled to death to learn from President Smith. I can't think of anyone that I would rather work under. She's incredible. She took our college, I believe in 2008, we were in a crisis. And honestly, she's been phenomenal, and I'm thrilled to death to work with her. So amen. I'll stop there. So, thank you so much.
Dr. Smith has been phenomenal for Columbia State, and I'm just thankful that she's been here and been guiding the ship for so many years. I'm sure her judgment here is right on. Looking forward to working with you, Dr. Hall. We've just about out of time, and just want to thank you all for being here. We will break here in just a minute, but I want you to stick around and get to know these gentlemen up here. They are a wealth of knowledge. We just touched the hem of the garment. There's a lot of other things we could have delved into, but wanted to try to hit it with a broad brush this morning and kind of give you a picture of what they've been doing. Just wanted to also thank everybody that makes this program happen. It takes a village, and we've, of course, Columbia State's the key to making all this happen because they provide a beautiful venue for it. And Mary Beth and Bob both work hard to get everything set up for us. Creed with WCTV makes us look good. I don't know if you've ever watched the show online, but we really look professional. I'm always amazed. And Creed, we appreciate your help. Tom Lawrence at WAKM, make sure we get out there over the radio waves. And Tom, I appreciate your helping us do that. And then we get a little financial help from AT&T and Vanderbilt University. Yes, medical center. I get it wrong every time. The medical center, and we appreciate their help in that respect. But the most important lady here, where is she? There she is. Golly, and I'm drawing a blank of all times. Terry, thank you. With Lion Leadership Group, who is our McDonald's franchisee here in the county. And they bring us the coffee here for the meet and greet every morning. And Terry has to get up very early to make that happen. We appreciate your help. And then, of course, the chamber staff. Matt's he's the boss. Kel's the quarterback on this effort. And we have several others involved, but we appreciate your help making us all come together. We will wind it up here. We are going to take a break for the summer. We'll be back in August. Tentatively have the City of Spring Hill's new regime coming to give us an update on what they're planning to do down there. and look forward to have y'all back with us then. Thank you very much.